And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5th episode of Shooting the Shit with Jim. With me today is my very, very special guest, Dan, all the way from the UK. How you doing today?
Very well, thank you. And I want to thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this more than I think anyone I know. I really have been.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, so have I. The feeling's mutual. Big fan of yours as well.
Thank you.
Well, before we get into that, uh, Dan here. You can reach him at Talking Movies Livestream. Okay. He formerly had a channel, Dan's Movie Cave, which was one of the first channels that I actually stumbled across when I got onto YouTube. And he is currently a co-host with the Talking Movies live stream and the Westerns for Life podcast with Carlos, who was our guest from episode 1, and Jeff. Speaking of Jeff, there he is right there. 101 Bronson. Hello, Jeff. Thank you for being here, buddy. The three of them do these live streams all the time, guys. I cannot recommend them enough. If you have not subscribed, do so right now. I wish someday that
Thank
my
you.
live streams will be as good as yours because, quite honestly, the content, and again, this isn't a blowing sunshine up your ass moment, okay? The content that you guys put together, whether it be live or pre-recorded, is top notch. The
Oh,
the editing, the way that you guys play off each other, the content, everything you guys do, I cannot say enough. It is how it should be done. So kudos to you, sir. You guys do incredible work over there.
thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. As I said to you before, myself, Carlos, and Jeff, we're just three big movie fans who don't claim to be like an encyclopedia, and we just talk off the cuff about what we love. And I'm glad that comes across on screen. And we've known each other for, I've known Carlos for about 7 years, Jeff for
Mm-hmm.
maybe 5. So yeah, we get on really well. So I appreciate your words. Thank you very much.
No, no, not at all. Like I said, you could tell you guys are friends. I mean, you could tell. That's the thing about some of these channels. You can tell people that are real movie fans and people that are just on there to make content, and to get views. And I've never gotten that from you guys, any of you guys. It's basically here's three guys that love movies regardless of the genre, and they're willing to share that love with their audience. And like I said, it comes across. So kudos to you guys. You guys do excellent work. Okay.
I'm
Before we
glad
get
it's
into the
so.
show, let's say hello to some of the people here in the chat. We already said hello to Jeff. Mr. Dan and Inhor is here. Hello, Dan. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Okay.
My good friend Sean from Cinephile World Order is here. Thank you, Sean, for being here, buddy. Hope all is well with you.
Hello.
Greg Brewer. Hey, Greg, how you doing, bud? Greg's one of my most faithful followers. He's here every week. I love the guy.
Hmm.
And speaking of Carlos, there he is right there. How's it going, my friend? I hope everything is well with you and your family. Hope your dad is on the mend as well. Dan, yep, there you go. Westerns for Life podcasts are next level. See, I'm not the only one who feels that way. You guys,
Oh, thank you very much.
excellent work you guys do. And Jeff, no problem, buddy. Again, you guys, excellent, excellent, excellent. Carlos, thanks, Jim. The PayPal cash is coming, plus the Dirty Dancing Blu-ray Steelbook. Damn it, Carlos, you were supposed to keep that under wraps. All righty. So, yeah, we've got 10 people currently watching. Thank you all. So, how did you get your start on YouTube, Dan?
I was very late to the internet. I moved out of my home. Didn't get on my stepfather. I moved in with my nan and granddad's World War II grandparents, and very old fashioned. Wouldn't let me have internet.
Hmm.
Can't say I kind of disagree now with how certain things are on the internet. And I remember when we first moved out, bought our first property. I thought I've got to get internet now because a few months previous to that, I was at my mum's house and my sister's was on this thing called YouTube. I quickly grew bored of it, just watching funny pranks. And just on a kind of whim, I thought, I want to type in DVD collections. I've got this big DVD collection. My sister's called me weird for having all this geeky stuff. Typed it in, and lo and behold, before I knew it, I was down this rabbit hole of about 20 channels talking about movies. I went home and I said, I've got to get internet, got to get a video camera, and start talking about the movies I've got. And it just went from there, from early 2008. and
Wow.
absolutely loved it. It's a lot different, mind you, back then. It was predominantly movie focused, where that's shifted, unfortunately. I think majority wise to a lot more collector based and not so much movies. That's why we do the live streams and the podcast, because it's
Hmm.
movie based.
Yep.
But yeah, that's how I got started. Very
Wow,
late
you've
on the
been
internet.
you're like one of the pioneers then. I mean, Jesus, 17 years. That's
Yeah,
that's that's a
I did
long
have a former
time.
channel.
That's a
Yeah.
career. Now that explains a lot why you're so good at this. You got
Oh,
plenty of
thanks.
practice. I'm still in my first year. I'm a rookie. So okay, wow. That's great. That is really great. Now, it's funny that you said that your sister would call you weird for being a collector, of DVDs and such back in the day because yeah, I've been getting shit my entire life and I'm like 20 years
Mhm.
older than you, my friend. So it started with the VHS days for me. Why
Yeah.
are you buying that when you could watch it on cable? Well, because I want a physical copy of it. And nothing's
Hmm.
changed. Here we are these days where it's like, why are you buying a Blu-ray when you could stream it? Because I want a physical copy of it. So
Yeah.
I get it. And it's nice to see that, that love is universal, for no matter where you are. Because I talk to people all over the world and it seems, it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're a movie lover, you're a movie lover. So
Mm.
fantastic. I love it. Um, so obviously you've always been a movie fan. What are some of your favorite earliest memories of seeing a movie at a theater?
Uh,
Whether it
I,
be a Disney film or whatever, just something that you
I'm,
remember seeing at a very early age.
you know, where my mum's a big horror fan, we never had Disney in the house until my sister was kind of about 3 or 4. So for me, I wanted to watch what she watched, and I mean when Rocky 5 come out at the cinema, and I remember that being my first proper cinema trip, going to see Rocky 5. And I've said to Jeff and Carlos before that I realised then it wasn't quite as good as the other 4 films. Um, but I just had such a great time with it. The whole, it was just a big event, and I remember shortly after that seeing Ghostbusters 2, and then Home Alone. They was my first three I remember vividly, and it was just amazing to see going from like your old CRT TV in like the wooden casing to this
Hmm.
huge screen. It's just great.
Yeah, yeah. That first time you see that big screen, it does something to you.
Yeah.
It does something to you. Yeah, my first theatrical memory was Battle for the Planet of the Apes, but that was at the drive-in. And
Oh, I'd love to go driving.
the first theatrical, indoor experience I can remember is Earthquake with Charlton Heston
Charlton
in
Heston, yeah.
Sensorround, and it
Oh
it
wow.
shook the whole theater. I mean, it was so loud, but yeah, as a six and a half, 7 year old, that just blew my mind. Seeing,
Yeah.
like you said, going from watching something on a TV screen to seeing that,
Hmm.
it changes you. That's so
Yeah.
cool. And you said that you were, obviously a big DVD collector, back in the day. Do you remember what your first movie was that you bought?
Well, I was VHS collector as well.
Okay.
Um, for me, that's the greatest memories. That's what's made me the movie fan I am today.
Hmm.
But when DVD come along, um, I was still at secondary school. I was born in '84, so I couldn't afford DVD with my pocket money. So you're talking 24.99 on average for a title. So I was still buying like VHS from the bargain bins.
Hmm.
Yes, like you have them in Best Buy, and you used to get like two for £5 here.
Yeah.
So every fortnight I'd have my £10. I'd get four movies. But when I started work properly, when I left school, buying DVDs from the year 2000, about September, and unfortunately, my first one, just because someone sold it to me cheap, was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Never something I'd normally buy um, at all. I don't know how that happened. And then the first proper movie I actually bought on DVD, which I consider one I still like today, was a chart release, Kiss of the Dragon with Jet
Oh,
Li.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I bought that because it was a chart title. I was working in retail, walked past the turntable, is all, and I thought, oh yeah, Jet Li, I like him, like his Asian martial arts, and I picked that up. Yeah, I amassed 4,000 titles by the time 2009 come around. It's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow. that's quite some collection.
Yeah,
Because that's the other thing I would get. When do you possibly have time to watch all these movies? And it's like, eventually I will.
yeah,
I generally don't buy things I haven't seen. I mean, I do that occasionally, but I'd say 90% of the stuff that I buy, I've seen it before, so
yeah. Same, yeah.
yeah, my first, because I was a VHS collector too. The first one I think I bought was RoboCop, and that was like
Oh,
$70 at the time, because that's what the list
wow.
price was for movies back then. It was a rental market before then.
Mm,
Um, okay, well, obviously we know how much you love westerns because you guys have an entire uh, podcast devoted just to westerns. But what are some of your other favorite genres?
I absolutely, when done right, I absolutely love mob movies. A Bronx Tale, Donnie Brasco, two of my favorite mob movies. There's something I find when I say that to people, say, "Oh, you just like violence and everything." I say, "No, but it's everything that goes with it." It's like when people say Sopranos is just all violence and killings. I say, "No, it's deeper than that. It's family."
Yes,
And there's
characters.
there's a feeling I get when I watch a really good mob movie when done right. So there's 10 of those I can watch at any given time. And of course, growing up in the early 90s, talking Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Stallone, uh, it- you know, quite often I put on any movie from those guys from in their peak. Um, but I will give all genres a go. My least favorite would be sci-fi, but I'm kind of a mood picker when it comes to movies. Like what I've watched this week is all
Mm-hmm.
over the place. I've gone from a nostalgic pick in Neverending Story to a cop crime gritty 70s cop thriller with Jules Peppard, Newman's Law. So that's how I pick.
Yeah, that's
So
Newman's Law. Wow, I haven't thought of that movie in years. That's an obscure title these days. Good for
yeah.
you. All right. Before I get too far into more questions, I got to go back to the comments because I know I skipped a lot of people that are now here. Because, yeah, we're getting a pretty decent audience here today. Got a lot of people chatting back and forth saying hello to each other. Carlos, Dan is one of the OGs in the UK community. First channel I was watching, Orton Productions.
Hmm.
Uh, Also was a Crocodile Dundee films that came out in a censored form recently. If you own it, you don't have to worry. Is that something that they did over in the UK, I'm assuming? Did they censor something in Crocodile Dundee?
I heard something about it. I can't remember what. Like, I don't even know if they're on Blu-ray here, so I'd definitely pick up the first two. I do really like those movies.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of
Uh,
what could be censored from that, except for that pretty revealing bathing suit that she's wearing, but that's
mm,
nothing, gratuitous. So, uh,
uh,
oh, and Yam Yam's here. How you doing, buddy? Thank you so much for
oh yeah,
being
man.
here. Uh, okay. Favorite action tough guy actor when watching movies as a teenager? That's what Carlos wants to know. Because our answers would be completely different because I'm a lot older than you are. So,
Oh, you know, even though he's not classed as Stallone or Schwarzenegger, I've always absolutely admired Van Damme from Bloodsport through to probably Sudden Death. He's always been my favourite. So I was watching Van Damme. First movie I watched of his was Kickboxer in 1990. I
mm-hmm.
watched that in 91. I remember the box art for that. So from then on to now, he's still my favourite
Yeah.
action tough guy.
Yeah, I like Van Damme. I'm a huge Hard Target fan. I love Hard Target.
That's
That
great.
that movie is
Yeah.
just so awesome. But again, the age difference. Tough guy actor. When I was a teenager, I mean, it had to be Clint. I mean,
Oh
Clint
yeah.
Clint was the man. Still is the man. The guy's almost 100 years old, and he'd probably still kick my ass. So yeah, I'd have to go with Clint. The only one that would come close to that would be Kurt Russell, but he wasn't really a tough guy when I was when I was a teenager. He didn't start doing the
No.
action movies until the 90s. But other than Escape from New York, which
Yeah.
Escape from New York was a very huge influential movie for me. That's like when I think drive-in, that's the movie I think of. I saw that at the
Hmm.
drive-in, and that is the quintessential drive-in movie to me. It's just so good.
Yeah.
And we have Stephen Moles is here. Thank you very much for being here. Gallow Walkers is a decent Western vampire movie starring Wesley Snipes. I've never heard of it, but thank you for the comment. Texas is here. He says, "Are you a fan of Dexter Fletcher and Stephen Graham, and your favorite films with them?"
Oh, Stephen Graham, the guy, first see him in Snatch.
Yep,
And you
that's
know
what I
what?
was going to say.
He's turned out to be an excellent actor. He's
Absolutely.
portraying a boxer now, but I mean, he's. I'm going to go for a little bit of an obscure one, not many people would mention, but he plays a chef in a Netflix film. I can't remember what it's called, but he's this head chef at a high-powered London restaurant. And it's based on this one shift, and he's basically snorting drugs to keep himself going, and it's just got such a unfortunate climax, but he's phenomenal in it because I work in the industry of food, so I know how demanding it can be, and the realism of it's incredible. Can't remember if it's called Burned. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you about Stephen Graham, because the first time I ever noticed him was in playing Tommy in Snatch, and then I saw him in other movies and had no idea it was the same guy. And then I saw him on there was an HBO show called Boardwalk Empire. I don't know if you ever watched that, but that was a mobster movie, and he played Al Capone in that show. And I actually looked him up on IMDb because I was like, this guy looks so familiar. Who the hell is this guy? And when I saw that on the most known for, and the first thing on there was Snatch, I was like, holy shit, that's Tommy, and yeah, he's really become a great actor. Great question, Texas. Thank you. Yam Yam, if I can get it to come up. I'm a big film fan, but I haven't actually watched a film before. This is crazy for me. But the last film I saw was on the 26th of February, and that film was The Big Gun Down, the extended U.S. cut. Yeah, that was one of the films that Carlos sent me last year for my birthday. And I'm sorry, Carlos, that's one that I still haven't watched. I'm sorry, I will. But I did watch Django, and Django kicks ass. That movie was incredible. I'm assuming you're a fan of The Big Gun Down?
Oh, it's one of the best spaghetti westerns. One of my favorite releases to see a western like that get the treatment Indicator give it. It's really great. I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, I'm sure I will. My mom's watched it twice, so she watches more movies than I do. Okay, now you already said that you're not really a science fiction fan. Okay, are there any other genres that you generally don't like, or are you willing to give just about anything a chance?
I don't like the whole Shakespeare stuff.
Okay.
That whole dialogue set, I can't get on with it. It kind of loses me. And Denzel Washington's in Macbeth, but I don't know if I can give it a go.
Yeah,
I want to because he's in it, but I mean, foreign films I didn't used to really watch foreign language, but I've grown to sort of get on with them a bit better. I'm someone, when I read, I don't always take it in, so I normally watch a subtitled film twice, and then it kind of resonates more. But no, it's only really sci-fi and the Macbeth stuff. I mean, even video games. I mean, as soon as like a laser comes out, I think I'm done with it now. I've got something with it. Yeah.
You like Star Wars?
Not particularly.
Like the original ones, I mean?
Don't get me wrong, I can appreciate them for how groundbreaking they was, but I don't have any kind of connection with them. Take it or leave it, really, for me.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my entire family, I'm the only one that, well, my late brother Greg, but yeah, I was the Star Wars geek. My sister, my brothers, they were all like, this shit's stupid, so I get it, It's not everybody's cup of tea. Okay. I want to play a little game that I call Overrated, Underrated. Okay. I want you to come up with a movie. Doesn't necessarily mean that you don't like this movie, but a movie that you just think is overrated as hell.
Overrated.
And we already just talked about Star Wars, so that don't count.
Yeah. The Matrix.
Okay. and
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense because of a sci-fi angle, so I understand it. But did you like it as in any way, shape, or form, or you just didn't like it?
There's one scene I liked. They're fighting in a lobby, and there's all chunks coming out the pillars in the wall, and I still think that looks quite good. But I think Matrix I dislike more and more. I think they've aged terribly as
Yeah.
well, especially the first three. I wouldn't even watch the fourth one.
Oh, that fourth one's an abomination. If you didn't like the other ones, you would really hate that fourth one. It's
Yeah.
bad. Okay, now let's flip that. Underrated. Something that most people say, that movie sucks, and you're like, no, you're wrong. That movie's great.
I don't know if I'd say it's people say it sucks. I just don't think they get it. I know Jeff will agree with me on this, co-host Jeff, but I don't think enough people give Death Proof, Tarantino movie, the credit it deserves. I think that's a masterpiece personally, but I get it. When I went into it, I got what he was going for, and I think that's criminally underrated. That's always the bottom of Tarantino's
Yeah,
filmography when you see someone rate it, and that was brilliant.
yeah, yeah. When I saw Death Proof the first time theatrically, because I saw Grindhouse theatrically,
Mhm.
okay, with the fake trailers, and Planet Terror was the first movie.
Yeah.
Uh, I think the problem that people had with Death Proof at the time was because Planet Terror is so over the top crazy, okay?
Mhm.
And then you got those crazy trailers, and then Death Proof starts, and it's a slow burn for a while. And then the big
Mhm.
thing happens, and then it's a slow burn for a while. And then the last 20 minutes of Death Proof is just incredible, okay? Now, I loved it from the get-go, but I do remember a lot of people at the time were like, yeah, the second movie wasn't as good as the first movie. But I think when they split them up and you watch them separately, that's when Death Proof starts getting more and more love, because it's not being,
Yeah.
it's, again, I'm not saying it's better or worse than the other one, but when you've got that, if they would have flipped those movies at Grindhouse, I think Death Proof would have gotten more love at the time, but that's
Yeah,
just
I
my
agree.
personal opinion. But no, I
Mhm.
totally agree with you. It is totally underrated. It's a fun movie. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And what's her face? Zoe Bell. She,
So Bell,
she's a
yeah, yeah.
rock star, man. And she is such a
Mhm.
rock star.
And to think she was just a stunt woman who turned acting for that.
Yeah, she's
I'm sure
great.
that's the first one. Yeah, amazing. Really
Yeah,
amazing performance.
yeah. When she comes jumping out of it, I'm okay. It's such a good,
Yeah.
it's such a good moment. Let's see here. Steven says Steven Seagal was good back in the day until he went straight to DVD hell. See, now that's the one guy that I wasn't a big fan of. I love Under Siege because of Crazy Gary Busey
Yeah.
and Tommy Lee Jones, but I'm not a Steven Seagal fan. But I know a lot. I'm in the minority there. Barry, if he's here, he'll be yelling at me about Steven Seagal all day. Do you like him?
Yeah, I'd like to do a live stream on him, but from Nico up until Exit Wounds, because after then it's just a downward
Yeah,
spiral. But yeah, I think you look at Nico, Mark for Death, Out for Justice. I mean, they're quality
yeah,
action films.
yeah. I saw them
Yeah.
all back in the day. I was working at the theater back in the day. When those movies were coming out. And again, I don't, I don't hate those movies. Okay,
Mm.
I definitely don't like them. All right. Let me rephrase that. The only one that I really liked was Under Siege, but I don't hate any of those earlier movies. Okay, they're all,
Yeah.
like you said, they're all well made, and they're all decent.
Yeah.
The problem that I always had with Seagal was that, number one, he couldn't act. Okay, and number two,
No, no.
he always did the same move every time. He'd grab
Yeah.
the guy by the wrist, and like break every time, and it's like, same thing with Van Damme, who to me had more charisma. Okay, and he
Oh,
was
March.
just
Yeah.
and more likable. Okay, I mean, he
Hmm.
wasn't he wasn't a great thespian actor either, but he was likable. Okay, but his thing constantly was the splits.
Yeah.
Where every movie he's getting. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy those movies. Oh, here we go. I knew this was coming. Carlos with his movie face-offs. Time Cop versus Demolition Man versus Total Recall. I know what my
Mm.
answer is, but go ahead.
Mine, do you know, I was thinking about this before. As I said to you, I watched that 30-minute video on Caracol's best movies,
Hmm.
and Total Recall for me quite possibly is the most nostalgic movie for me. I've just got the best memories of getting that on VHS with my two cousins, and we watched that 3 times from Saturday night to Sunday morning. I absolutely love Total Recall.
Yep.
Um, they're all three are good movies, but Total Recall is something special for me. It really, really great memories, and I think the effects still I'd take them effects any day over what we're getting now. Um, it's just so much to love about that film. It really is.
Yeah. What he said, everything you said, I 100% agree with. I was lucky enough to see Total Recall theatrically the day it came out with my brother, the one who passed away. And drug alert, kids, this was 35 years ago, so the statute of limitations is over. We got seriously stoned and went and watched that movie. And the visuals in that movie, even if we weren't stoned, it would have blown our minds because, yeah, that movie is just incredible. It's a top 3 Schwarzenegger movie for me. It's
Yeah.
just it's so good. And like you said, I like Time Cop and I like Demolition Man, but I love Total Recall. So thank you, Carlos. Great question. Corey is here from Wilkie's Movies and Music. Hello, Corey. Thank you for being here, my friend. Let's see here. Steven says, my favorite action guy is Chuck Norris. The reason why I like him is that he does full contact with his fighting. Yeah, I like Chuck.
Hmm. Yeah, we done a stream on him, and it was tough for me to watch some of his movies
Oh,
because
yeah.
I mean, Code of Silence, Lone Wolf McQuade are exceptionally good action movies, or as Carlos would say, Lone Wolf McQuade, kind of a spaghetti western almost.
Yeah.
As well. They're top tier, but I don't think he's done too many top tier films. But yeah, he's legit.
Yeah.
He is legit.
I love Invasion USA just because it's so over the top, batshit
Yeah,
crazy. You know, it's that movie's a cartoon, but it's a fun cartoon, you know.
yeah.
And Code of Silence is actually a really good movie. I really like Code of Silence. Let's see what else we got here. Dan, is that film called Boiling Point with Stephen
That's
Graham?
the one.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you, Yam Yam. Thank you. You said that was on Netflix?
Yeah, I watched it on Netflix and was really surprised. Yeah, I watched it because he's in it.
Yeah, I'll check into
And
that.
it's exceptional.
Steven says Jeff Speakman and Jeff Wincott are good, as well as Cynthia Rothrock. I know Jeff is a huge Cynthia Rothrock fan. He just met her, and yeah, he looked over the moon in those pictures. So, okay, here we go with see, Carlos is always good to keep the ball rolling here. Under Siege versus Die Hard. Oh, okay, these are different. I thought this was all one big matchup. Okay, Under Siege versus Die Hard.
Under Siege for me on that one.
Really? That's
Yeah.
surprising. I mean, I'm not disputing it, but I'm just surprised. So I go ahead.
Yeah, I like Die Hard, but it's not a favorite of mine, which is quite weird. No matter how many times I persist, Under Siege, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I would go with Die Hard, but I love Under Siege. Again, I'm not a Seagal fan. I love that movie. Okay, Terminator versus RoboCop.
This is probably the most difficult one.
Yeah, that one's rough.
Oh, I'm gonna go on nostalgia here because RoboCop was one of the first VHS tapes I got in a big box, and I do tend to watch that more. Yeah, it's hard, but my mood currently, I'd say I'd watch RoboCop right now.
Yeah, me too. And I love both, but RoboCop is like one of my favorite movies. Now, if it was Terminator 2 versus RoboCop, that might be a little more difficult for me. So, okay, and then this one, Lone Wolf McQuade versus Extreme Prejudice.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to lean slightly towards Extreme Prejudice. That Carlos sent me that film. It was the first time I watched it in 4 on DVD, and it blew me away.
Yeah.
I've got it on Blu-ray since. I yeah, I really do love that. Lone Wolf and McQuaid's great, but yeah, Extreme Prejudice.
Yep. Again in agreement with you. I am going with Extreme Prejudice. I'm a huge Walter Hill fan, and the cast in that movie is stacked. I mean, Powers
Yeah.
Booth. I, I I'd watch Powers Booth read the phone book. He is so good. He's just one of my all time favorite actors. So thank you for that, Carlos. Okay, Greg wants to know, Dan, what are some of your favorite British actors, and welcome.
Oh, thank you. Um, British actors off the top of my head. This is going to sound really strange, but I don't know if you know Danny Dyer is.
I
Um,
know the name, but I'm not.
so he's
Wait a minute. Wait, is that ain't the Drop Dead Fred guy? Is it? No.
No, so people in England know more. So he's not necessarily a good actor, but I've been on a bit of a Danny Dyer kick recently. He's just himself in football hooligan films. He's got a new film coming out, so I'm partial to him a bit, despite him being himself. But I think if you're going for British actors, probably the best one I think's great and everything's Anthony Hopkins,
Yeah.
springs to mind. I just think, yeah, even Remains in the Day, I can watch him in. Um,
No, that movie's like
Silence
watching
of the
paint
Lambs.
dry. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not on paper. It's not something I would go for, but when I watched it, I thought it's just incredible. Yeah, and of course Michael Caine, even though he's done some real duds. Um, I guess you can call Christian Bale British because he's Welsh. I think. I think he's a great actor. I think he's
Yeah,
probably one of the best working today.
yeah,
There's a lot off the top of my head. That's the three I can name that I'd watch regular.
yeah. All three of them are great. Well, I don't know Danny Dyer that much, but
I
I'm
say,
certainly,
but
but I'm certainly familiar with the other three. And
yeah.
I always make the joke about Michael Caine. Michael Caine. You know, with that accent, Michael Caine. So thank you, Greg. That's great. Yam Yam says, I'm not a huge Western fan. Actually, that's not fair for me saying that because I've not watched much of the Western genre, but I am trying to delve more into them. My favorite Western is 1967's War Wagon. Are you
Mm.
familiar with that one?
Yeah. We've discussed the possibility of doing an episode on that. So Yam Yam's brought it up, but it's a good one. It's not my favourite from John
Yeah,
Wayne, but it's a good one.
yeah. I'm not familiar with. You said John Wayne's in that?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure my father would have seen it then because he was a huge John Wayne guy. He also says, I am not a sci-fi fan either, but I am looking forward to seeing Starship Troopers, Species, and Alien for the first time. All three of those movies are, well, Alien's a great movie. The other two are fun movies, but yeah, I enjoy all three of those movies. Uh, Steven says, I recently watched Eli Roth's Aftershock. What a film. And I watched Stake Land, which is a good vampire movie, which you need to check out if
Yeah.
you haven't seen it. Haven't seen Stake Land, but I own Aftershock. Have you ever seen that movie?
I haven't seen Aftershock, but I'd give it a go. It's Eli Roth, but Stakeland was a real surprise for me. That is really entertaining. The second one, I think they done. I haven't gone near that first one. Well worth a watch.
Yeah, Aftershock. Eli Roth is in that, but he's one of the writers, but he did not direct that. He's an actor in
Okay.
that. But it's about a group of tourists down in South America or Central America, and an earthquake hits and knocks out all the power, and people start rioting and looting, and they're trapped in the middle of it. So it's not a horror movie per se. It is, but it's not like a slasher movie or anything. It's more like a thriller, suspense thriller type movie.
Yeah.
But it's a good movie. It really is. Texas says Stakeland is very good. Yeah. Most overrated film for me is the Blair Witch Project. Core blimey, that is the worst piece of Tasha I've ever seen in my life. It hurts that I watched the whole thing. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that movie either. And I know
Mm.
people love it. You love it?
I do. I see that in Leicester Square, London, when it come out, and I thought it was real, which I'm sure most people did. And there's something about these found footage. I watch a lot of so I believe in the paranormal, so I watch a lot of paranormal investigations. So there's
Mm.
something about it for me. I don't know. People say, "Oh, it's just a guy standing in the corner at the end," but that freaks me out. It really does. I think it's what they achieve with something so simple. It shows you how well you can do a horror movie on no budget, and it be so effective.
Yeah, that movie had a brilliant, I mean, an absolute brilliant marketing plan because that was right when the internet was coming out too. So they
Yeah,
were leaking those little tiny images on the internet and these little stories and stuff, and like they convinced an awful lot of people that that movie was real. Like you said, you thought it was real too, and I knew it wasn't real going in. Okay, but I saw it in a packed theater that the air conditioning wasn't working, so it was hot as hell in there. And with the jiggly cam at the time, all it did was give me a headache the first time I saw it. And I was just, oh yeah, all I wanted was somebody to kill these three kids that were annoying the piss out of me.
okay.
Now I did, well, like I said, I appreciate the movie for what it is. Okay, because
Yeah,
again, it's brilliant how it's put together, and that movie made a shit ton of money. So, but to me, I it's one of those movies that once you watch it the first time, I don't think I could watch it a second time. So that's just me. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Uh, let's see here. Greg Brewer, my favorite British actors are Gary Oldman and Jeremy Irons. Hell yeah, both of them are great.
yeah.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. People are answering each questions about Stakeland and such. Oh, here we go. I knew Jeff would have to jump into the fray on this one. Seagal definitely had a great run in the 90s, but it went downhill very quickly after that for sure. Yeah, I know Jeff's a big Seagal guy. He loves that guy. I just, something about that guy.
Yeah.
I think Matthias Hewitt, the alien from Dark Angel, would have played a good He-Man back in the day. Yeah, he was a big dude. I remember that. And I guess Jeff has met that man. Says, lovely guy to talk to. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get back to some of my questions here. We were just talking about some of your favorite British actors. That was asked before I could get to it. But past or present, what are some of your favorite actors?
Number one, without a doubt, is Denzel Washington.
Good pick.
Sorry, someone's trying to ring me. Never happens when we're on a stream. Someone's trying to ring me. Um, yeah, Denzel Washington, absolutely love him. I mean, for me, everyone goes to Training Day's great, and he is great. And I know he done this one on stage, but Fences for me is just amazing. That film with Viola Davis, Paul Newman's right up there as
Mm-hmm.
well. For me, he's the king of cool.
Yeah.
Paul Newman, Cat in a Hot Tin Roof, The Hustler, HUD. He's incredible. Al Pacino as well. And I was almost obsessed with Al Pacino's work from, I'd say, from the age of 18 to 30. I'd say they're my top three.
Yeah.
I'd say off the top of my head.
Now, are there any actors, past or present, that you just cannot stand? If they're in a movie, your skin just crawls.
Yeah. It's funny, we were talking about this before because I was watching something on Bond, and me and my partner was just talking about similar movies, ones that I don't like. The Bourne movies, I'm not a fan of Matt Damon at all. I won't watch a movie. He's not someone I think, oh, Matt Damon's in it, I'm going to watch it. Granted, he's done some movies I like, but I've just never seen the fascination with Matt Damon. The same can be said for Ewan McGregor. I'm just not a fan of that guy whatsoever. And I'm still trying to erase my memory of Doctor Sleep. That not his fault, but you're killing off probably my greatest horror memory in The Shining with what they've done to that. I know it's based on a book, but it's just not a patch on it. And because Ewan McGregor was in it, it's kind of gone down the pecking order even more. Not a fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
I actually prefer that movie to The Shining, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not saying it's a better movie. I'm not. but to me, the director's cut of that movie is more entertaining than The Shining. And I saw The Shining theatrically as a kid.
Oh,
Imagine seeing that bathtub scene sitting next to your mother
yeah.
when you're 12 years old when that movie came out. I mean, yeah, uncomfortable at best, but yeah. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised about Ewan McGregor. I thought he was kind of like a very
No, not keen on him at all. I'm sure there's one or two others, but I mean, I don't hate anyone. I don't hate them, but it's just someone said this movie is amazing. Ewan McGregor's in it. I think I could quite easily not ever watch it. So
not a fan of Train Spotting, huh?
no, hate it. I do hate that. It's more the whole kind of drug thing. I mean,
Yeah,
drugs in movies, yeah, but when it's kind of one that makes you feel dirty, I'm very anti
yeah,
drugs, like
yeah,
like that, the needles and stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, I felt uncomfortable with that quite a bit.
yeah, yeah. That's another movie that I love, but it's again for different reasons. But not because of drugs. So, but thinking about Train Spotting, it made me think of something. Because earlier you were saying that when you were younger and such, you didn't really get into foreign language films that much because but now you don't mind reading subtitles and such.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, we had to do that with certain movies from the UK, like Train Spotting. Okay, the first couple of times I saw Train Spotting,
Okay.
I had to have the closed captioning on because I had no fucking clue what I was listening to, And even Snatch, and I ain't talking about Brad Pitt because you're not supposed to understand what he's saying, okay? But there's some characters in that movie that the accents are so thick that to my stupid American ears, the best line in that movie is when Dennis Farina says to Vinnie Jones, he goes, "Speak English, Tony. This is the country that spawned the damn language, and nobody seems to speak it." And I
Yeah.
love that. Okay. The flip side I'm trying to get to with that is, have you ever watched an American movie where they're using some Southern accent, for instance, or whatever, some accent that's so thick that you've got to put on the subtitles to understand what the hell they're saying? Or is it never a problem?
Honestly, never a problem. From like the real deep South accents, never a problem. But what I will say, jump in and say this: when I last watched Mad Max on Blu-ray, it come up with subtitles on it because it's Australian. I thought it amazed me that there were subtitles on an Australian movie. So I get where you're coming from. I just thought, what's going on? I had to
Yeah,
turn them off.
I mean, even when I was a kid, if it wasn't a James Bond movie, okay, I couldn't get my parents to watch hardly anything that was British because they'd be like, "No, those accents are so thick, I can't understand what they're saying." And I'm like, "They're speaking English. You speak
Yeah,
American, but they're speaking English." So.
yeah.
But yeah, Train Spotting, I swear to God, I must have seen that movie 10 times before I finally didn't need the subtitles to understand what I was hearing. I mean, some of those accents are Dog Soldiers. That's another one, man. It was like,
Okay.
what? What are these guys talking about?
Yeah.
Between the slang and the speed of in the dialects, it's like, to us dumb Americans, we just can't pick that shit up like you classy Brits. So, it just shows you the education differences between our two countries. And now they're trying to ban the Department of Education. Yeah, that works. All right, let's see here. Greg says The Hitman is an underrated Chuck Norris film. I saw that way back in the day, but I do not remember that to save my life.
That's a canon one. Yeah, it's okay.
I remember the box art more than I actually remember the movie because he's wearing like the black coat or like
Yeah.
black trench coat type thing, Yeah. Chuck kills them all, and even Bruce Lee, which might be controversial, but then it's a world champion in karate versus actor kung fu. Oh, I think that's in the middle of a conversation I missed. Sorry. Oh yeah, absolutely awesome. Of course, Jeff likes the Bronson flick.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Mike from Mike's DVD and Blu-rays here. How you doing, Mike?
Oh, Mike.
Good to see you, my friend. Just want to make sure. And one of my partners in crime, Kenny from Kenny's Movie Palace, is here. Thank you for being here, Kenny.
Okay.
Out for Justice or Kickboxer?
Uh, Kickboxer all day long. My
Me
favorite
too.
Van Damme film. I love that.
Yeah, I'll go with Kickboxer as well. Da, 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 da. Yeah, Leanne wants to know what's the first action film you ever saw? Mine is Cold Harvest with Gary Daniels and Barbara Crampton. It's a martial arts film. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan, but Gary Daniels is my first.
Mm.
So, first action movie you can recall seeing.
Now I remember straight out action, so I can't say First Blood. Really, I don't class that as straight out action.
Yeah,
Now it's a bit more deeper than that.
yeah, that one's more of a drama with some action in it.
Yeah, but I remember watching that very young. I, so I want to say Predator. That's my number one movie of all time. I know these people say it's horror, sci-fi, but I class that as um, action first and foremost. It's got to be Predator. I remember watching that. I was 6 when I watched it. So if
Yeah.
we're talking grown-up action, and I remember also watching Fist of Fury around the same time as well, martial arts action.
Now, yeah, see, the first quote unquote action movie I ever saw was a Western, so that doesn't really count, but that would be The Outlaw Josie Wales when I was 9 theatrically. But if you're talking real, just flat out action, the earliest one I can think of, believe it or not, is a Chuck Norris film, Force of One, because I saw that one
Oh,
theatrically when I was about 10.
okay.
And yeah, I think that's the first one. No, actually, Good Guys Wear Black. That's what it was. Good Guys Wear Black, because that
Oh,
came out
yeah.
first. I saw that at the drive-in. So yeah, it would have to be Good Guys Wear Black. Thank you, Yam Yam. Steven says, I recently watched Red Sun and Chato's Land, 2 good Bronson movies. Yeah, I like both of those movies.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
Not my favourites of his, but they're good.
okay, Words and Pictures is here. Interested to know what Dan thinks about the 6 Rise of the Foot Soldier films. Thanks.
Oh.
I've never even heard of those, so I don't know what that is.
So it starts off basically like the Essex Boy story. It's a notorious story here in the UK when these films spawned. You get, I think, 3 or 4 guys who get assassinated in a Range Rover in Essex. The first one was good, but I think they've become quite intolerable. But what I will say, I haven't seen the 6th one. It's just, I don't know how much longer they can milk the story and those who have spawned off of it. It's, yeah, but I'd be interested to know what he thinks or she thinks. Um,
Yeah, like I said, I've never even heard of those. Let's see here. Steven says Hider in the House starring Gary Busey is a good movie, which needs a Blu-ray release. I saw that movie years ago, but I don't remember much about it. Okay, and Jeff says, well, it's more of a love-hate thing with Seagal for me, to be honest. Yeah, I know, Jeff, but until I get you on here, I got to pick on you, vicariously. So I'm not a big Danny Dyer fan, but I love Doghouse and Severance. I didn't watch the Brit Awards as I don't watch TV and I don't have an aerial, but I respect him for what he said. That's all I'll say.
yeah.
Okay. Again, that's something I'm not really familiar with, but I'll take his word for it. Mr. Dan says, Hayden Christensen for me. His voice is like eating tinfoil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you said Matt Damon, the first thing I thought, have you ever seen Team America? World Police? The puppet movie
When
from the
it
South
come
Park?
out,
Huh?
yeah, I couldn't get through it all.
Yeah. But the Matt Damon joke is, I figured you would appreciate, because every time they show Matt Damon, all he says is, Matt Damon. Like he's retarded. Yeah, it's great. Okay, 3 guys I can't stand: Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen, and Katherine Heigl. So you really didn't like Knocked Up, huh, Kenny? You
Yeah,
must have
I
hated
like
that
that
fucking movie because all 3 of them are in it. Yeah, I like Jonah Hill actually, I like Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen depending on the movie.
Mm.
This Is the End, I thought was absolutely
That's
hysterical.
funny. Yeah. Yeah,
That
that's
movie
really
is
funny.
so damn funny.
Yeah.
I'll come on you. I'll come wherever I want.
Pineapple
Steve,
Express is
yeah,
that's another level of funny. That's the one.
yeah. Pineapple Express is good. I recently watched Expendables 4. Who told Megan Fox and 50 Cent that they were action stars? I've
Yeah,
never watched
definitely.
it. I don't even think I saw the third one. I saw the first two Expendables movies, and that was enough for me. Let's see here. I have not seen many Denzel Washington films, but I love Safe House, Out of Time, and of course, my favorite Denzel film, which also stars the great John Travolta, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Mm.
Yeah, I own all three of those movies.
Yeah, same.
Do you remember what your first Denzel movie was that you saw, Dan?
Bone Collector. Funny enough, I'd only seen bits and pieces, and it's my mum's into all the horror, serial killer stuff. Um, you look at her bookcase, it's just all serial killer stuff, and it's just kind of, yeah,
God
it's
bless
like
her. God bless her.
it disturbs me when she tells me stories about this. And she rented out the Bone Collector, and so I live with my nan and granny. She actually pulled up outside and dropped it in and said she got to watch this movie. And it's the first Denzel Washington film I've seen, and I didn't really appreciate him in it because he's bedbound.
Yeah.
Uh, and then from then I discovered Training Day, and then it's just I absolutely love him. I think he's an amazing actor and a brilliant mind as well, not just actor.
Yeah.
It seems like a real brilliant person.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually saw his movie debut theatrically, Carbon Copy. Have you ever seen
Oh
that?
wow, I haven't seen that. I haven't gone back that far. No.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
It doesn't hold up. But he, believe it or not, even then, you could see this guy, was going to be somebody. I didn't, at the time, I was like maybe 14 when I saw that movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who he was because it even says in the credits, introducing Denzel Washington. But at the time, I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's going to be a star. I had no idea he was going to become the mega star that he became. But same thing with
Yeah.
Val Kilmer. The first time I saw Top Secret theatrically,
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that one.
that was his movie debut. And the first time I saw that movie, I was like, I have no idea who this guy is, but he's going to be big,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love Denzel. He's definitely one of my favorite actors as well. Steven, I feel sorry for you. Expendables 4 is absolutely awful. And now I don't feel bad that I didn't watch it. So I felt bad watching that because Dolph looked so sad, I guess. Megan Fox in charge of the Expendables. Did you see that movie? Yeah.
I won't watch that one. It just looks a mess when you see the trailer for it. It looks
Yeah.
the third one was it was falling off a cliff a bit in that, so I don't need any more.
Let's see. Okay. Let's go back to some of these. Lethal Weapon versus Tango and Cash. That one's easy for me.
Oh, Lethal Weapon,
Yeah.
easy for me.
Yeah. Lethal Weapon's a masterpiece. Tango and Cash, I cannot stand. So that one was easy for me. Missing in Action versus Commando.
Another easy one, Commando. I think it's
Yeah.
one of the best action movies ever.
Yep. Again, we're in total agreement. Red Heat versus The Rookie.
This is tough. I know Red Heat didn't do that well, but something I love about him and Belushi together. I'm gonna just go with that one. That's very close.
Yeah, see, again, we're 3 for 3. I got to go with Red Heat. Big Walter Hill fan, and that movie's got one of the best lines ever. Cocaine 'em. Marked for Death versus Code for Silence. Or Code of Silence.
Yeah, I do like Mark for Death quite a lot, but personally, I think Code of Silence is a very good film. It's Chuck Norris's best for me, so I'm going with that.
4 for 4. I am in total agreement. See, this is why we get along, Dan. We're, great minds think alike. Watching a bad Jason Statham movie and the story was just bad. I hope there is not going to be an Expendables 5. Gotcha. Okay, I was wondering where Jason Statham came in. I like Jason Statham, but same here, Steven. I sincerely hope the series is done. Okay. What's a peeve you don't like in films? For me, the main one is S3X. I despise that in films. Puts me off. I just don't like it. But also, I love horrors when they run and fall over is irritating. Oh, you mean like when somebody's being chased and they just keep on falling over? Gotcha. Okay, so I guess he's asking, is there like a cliche or something in movies that you just can't deal with?
Yeah, so his peeve, obviously, he says there, his main one, sex. So for me, I when you got an action film and then you got a whole smoochy scene, I still don't like that to this day. I get what's going on. I get the concept. I don't think you got to show it. I think it really divides up a film. There's like one scene, Double Impact, where they're on the boat and
Mm,
Chad gets hold of Alex's girlfriend, and I just think when I watch it now, you don't get me wrong, as a teenager, I think, oh, this is amazing, but it goes a bit too far, and it's like I don't think that's always needed. It is a bit of a peeve of mine
yeah,
in films. Like Basic Instincts is a film I don't like because of that element.
yeah.
It just yes,
It's just the
I'd say that is
titillation
my peeve.
factor. Gotcha. Yeah, I can't believe
You
I
know,
didn't
like
make.
Phoebe Cates in Fast Times at Ridgemont High or Porky. I like that element, the nudity parts. So
Hey, that scene like changed a generation there in America, pal.
yeah,
Cannot believe I didn't make out that he was talking about sex. I was looking at S3X for some reason that
yeah,
my brain wasn't working. But yeah, yeah, that's a great question. The thing that gets me, the ticking clock. The building's going to explode in 5 minutes. Get everybody out, and yet it takes 20 minutes of screen time before you actually see
yeah,
the thing blow up, or we're down to 30 seconds, hurry. And then it goes back to him 30 seconds later. We only have 20 seconds left. It's like, what kind of
yeah.
clock is this? Yeah, that's the thing that drives me nuts. It always has. Great question, Yam Yam. Okay, let's see here. Get through a couple more of these comments, and then I got some more deep probing questions for you, my friend. The worst film I have ever seen is Night Swim, a haunted swimming pool and someone freely that script. I never watched that movie. I heard it was god
Hmm.
awful, but I have not seen it. Have you?
That's what I heard. Yeah, but what I will say, without spoiling anything you may potentially ask me, I do have a real fear of being in water at night when I can't see it. So that film, the trailer, give me
Gotcha,
anxiety for that film.
gotcha.
So
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not going to pick on you about the Jaws thing. Okay. Carlos says the American Southern accent is a tough one for me, but then some UK English accents, we do need subtitles. That's good. I like that. It's not just my American ears. Also, when in a horror, when the baddie breaks in the goodies home and they say, "Hello, who's there?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're going to say, "Come see, I'm in the back room next to the brown boots."
mm,
Bruce all the way. Yam Yam's leaving lots of comments today. Predator has got to be the manliest, ruggedest, high testosterone film of all time. Yeah, I used
yeah,
to call that movie Testosterone the Movie, actually, for years.
yeah, definitely.
Uh, Rise of the Foot Soldier. Okay. Seth Rogen was good in Freaks and Geeks, but after that, he mostly bugs me. Yeah, that was a TV series here in the States for a couple of years.
I remember it.
Wolf of Wall Street is probably my favorite Hill with Jonah, or favorite film with Jonah Hill, and it absolutely hilarious, that one. That's his best performance without a doubt. I'll
Yeah.
totally agree with you on that. And I love Wolf of Wall Street. I think that movie's great.
Hmm.
I think Glory was my first Denzel movie. Excuse me. Yes, that's an excellent movie. Here's a good one. And I was actually going to ask you what your thoughts are about this new trend. These Winnie the Pooh horror movies are getting out of hand. There's another one coming out, Peter Pan's Netherland Nightmare. Yeah, that's the new trend. All these characters are going into public domain, and they're making cheap horror movies out of them.
Yeah.
There's two Popeye movies coming out, Popeye the Slayer Man and something else. Have you seen any of these pieces of shit?
I I won't, but the only one I liked the concept for was, I don't know if it's happening, but potentially my 13-year-old nephew was discussing it with me. Snow White, they was going to do a horror one,
They
but
are.
this was before all this, so it could work. See the elements there, but Winnie the Pooh, no, not something I'd be interested in seeing.
Yeah, they're making a Bambi horror movie.
How? It's traumatizing enough. There, cartoon one.
Killer Deer. I mean, I haven't watched any of those movies, but I have seen clips of a couple of them, and it's just, yeah,
Uh,
and it's going to get worse because a lot of those, I mean, a couple of years, Batman and Superman are going to be public domain characters.
yeah.
So God knows what these people are going to do with that sort of thing, you know? Yeah, it's sad. That's my main problem with film in general right now, is that everything is based on an IP. You
Mm.
know, there's no original ideas anymore, or if they are, they're being shuttered off to some streaming service, never to be heard from again. You know, my question to you would be, do you find yourself watching newer movies as much as older movies, or do you find yourself going back and watching movies more often?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that because I hardly ever watch new films. I go back, like my partner will say, "You've seen this film loads of times." I say, "Yeah, but I know it's a good film." I say, "We could pick something on Netflix that I purely only have because WWE's on it." I said, "Most of this is just, it's mindless." I mean, one I watched in recent years on there was Red Notice, and it's just horrible, absolute rubbish film. Um, I struggle. It's like I'd love to go to the cinema, but the only time we go to the cinema is when they're playing something old. Um, it's just nothing that appeals to me. My daughter wanted to see Wicked, and I said, "Don't expect me to sit through 2.5 hours of Wicked with what they've done to that. I
Right.
can't. I don't want to get into all that, why I won't watch it. But look, you're pushing something that didn't need to be pushed. Just leave it as it was." Um, I can't do it. I think there's too many tick boxes in modern films, which is quite insulting. I
Yeah.
have a big issue with it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. And even, uh, my purchasing habits, even if, I mean, funds have been a little bit slow, so that's why I haven't been buying as much as I normally would. Okay. But even when I buy movies, I'd say 90% of the stuff I buy is old movies because
Yeah.
there's nothing out there that really appeals to me anymore. And it's sad because I've spent most of my life in a movie theater in one way or
Mm,
another, whether working
yeah.
or as a customer. And it's just, I went and saw two movies last year. Two. I
Yeah.
mean,
So,
it's, I used to go to 2 movies a week.
mm,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So it's not just
Sure.
me. And I was thinking, you're a little bit younger, so maybe your perspective would be different because most of the guests that I've had have been around my age, and all of them have said the same exact thing. No, they don't make movies like they used to, or they don't make movie stars like they used to.
Oh no, there's a certain way you've got to fit a certain profile to be a movie star now. We're never gonna have these action heroes we looked up to, or a character like Harry Callahan again. It's never gonna happen.
No.
Imagine the outrage. And I'll give you an example. The other day now, I said to you before we went live, I watched a Never Ending Story. Not
Hmm.
normally a movie that's associated with me, but see that on the shelf, and I thought, do you know what? I haven't watched that in full since I sat down with my two sisters. I want to watch that, so I just need something done practically. And I watched that, and I was in awe of what they achieved for a movie what's as old as me, 1984. The practical effects, the dark side of it. I don't know if you've seen it, but
Oh
when
yeah.
Artex is drowning,
Hmm.
it's horrific. And I
Hmm.
thought, you don't get anything like that now. Kids' films just don't exist and it ruins kids' imagination now. The imagination I had when I watch a VHS, where it took me, I don't think kids get that from what comes out now.
Yeah.
I really
No,
don't.
I'm very familiar with that movie. I worked at the theater when that movie came out as an
Mm,
usher, and something about the year of '84, man. They
great
loved
year.
traumatizing children that year because that was the same year as Gremlins, and that was the same year as Temple of Doom. And
Oh,
I've mentioned it on my channel before. One of my favorite memories of all time was watching these traumatized kids coming out during showings of those movies, freaking out. Especially Gremlins. The
yeah.
Santa Claus bit would always be good for a laugh. And it's like, but yeah, you're right. Those movies back then were much darker. for kids.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't glorified. Everybody's happy. Let's make we don't want to put anybody in a dark frame of mind, and I think that might be one of the reasons why generational people have changed somewhat.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When I was a kid, during the day, we'd go out, we'd be gone until the sun went down and then be home for dinner, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
So,
you won't let a child out of your sight without a cell phone, a GPS locator, or this and that and the other, and you want to know where that kid is 24/7, and
yeah.
a lot of that is because of the world that we live in now as opposed to then, but a lot of it is just because we've conditioned these kids into not being self-reliant anymore, and it starts off with some of these movies. I think it really does. I didn't watch
Yeah.
Caillou. When I was a kid.
Yeah. Kai.
Okay, sorry, I'll get off my little rant there. But no, that's interesting about the never-ending story, because like I said, I haven't seen that movie in years, but you're absolutely right. For what that movie was, it was ahead of its time. The way it was filmed, the way it was, and my wife, that's one of her favorite movies, and it still makes her cry. So
Yeah. Well, it's just considering I haven't watched it for that. I sat there. I say I was in awe of it. I thought this is just amazing for a 40-year-old man to sit there and watch this and get just a brilliant feeling from it. It's got everything, that film really has.
Yeah, I get it. You got to see me watch Wally. I turn into I do. I turn into like a 4-year-old, watching that
Yeah.
movie. Every time I watch it, and the whole time I watch it, I'm like, you're a grown ass man. Why are you why are you getting choked up? Why are you getting a tear in your eye? Why are you happy that, it's over a cartoon, but yeah, I get it. When it's done well, it's
Tells an amazing story. It oozes that off the screen, that feeling you get from Wally's isolation there, and then when Eve comes
yeah.
along. I'm not a Disney fan, but that one is something special.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. It's definitely my favorite Pixar movie, without a doubt. And
Yeah.
it's just, I love Wally. Mike says, I think Glory was my first Denzel movie. Yeah, Glory's great. A Soldier Story was the first Denzel movie I saw, but I remember the commercials for Carbon Copy. Yeah, Carbon Copy it's not a good. It's not good. Craig Fairbrass seems to have taken a nosedive, considering he was a big film like Cliffhanger starring. Oh, was he the soccer or the football player, the striker? Is that who you're talking about? From
Craig
Cliffhanger?
Fairbrass was the British one in in Cliffhanger. You could
Yeah,
tell he's real London accent. Yeah.
yeah,
I
striker.
can't remember. Yeah, can't remember what his background was in the film.
Yeah, that's come to think of it. I think that might be the only movie I ever saw that guy in. I want to see The Working Man with Jason Statham. Looks good. Yeah, I saw the trailer for that. My good buddy Patrick is here from Have Cheetah, here for the Have Gun Will Travel talk. Yep. Yeah, Patrick's a big Western guy. His cat is named Paladin after the character from Have Gun Will Travel.
Yeah.
Heart Condition and Denzel and Bob Hoskins, which had one of the worst American accents from Hoskins. That movie's pretty bad. Silent Flute, starring David Carradine, and The Challenge, starring Scott Glenn, are two good films. I'm not familiar with The Silent Flute, but I have seen The Challenge.
The Challenge. No, I haven't actually seen that one. Silent Flute, I see years ago, because that was someone recommended that to me after I watched Kill Bill, and obviously years later I know why. But yeah, I don't remember it was okay.
St. Elsewhere was where I saw Denzel. Yeah, he was on the TV show here called St. Elsewhere for about 5 years, and then I think that ended right about the time that Glory started. The Hunted, starring Christopher Lambert, is a good one. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in years either. Funny you should say that, Jim, about the clock. Have you noticed that 99.9% of the time the clock suddenly stops at 1 second, Also, when the baddie leaves, the goodie suddenly arrives, and vice versa. Yeah. A new Piglet film is coming, and we need an Eeyore versus Black Phillip battle. Oh Jesus. Okay, Carlos, you took this from me, but this was going to be a future question, but I'm going to ask you anyways. He wants to know top 3 action canon movies.
Put me on the spot now. Top 3 action canon ones. Considering we was talking about canon before, I ain't gone blank. Delta Force is going to be in there, for sure. I think you definitely got to go Invasion USA. Don't know if you call it. I'm partial to Masters of the Universe, but I don't know if you'd call that straight up action.
Technically, it is.
Yeah, and I do really like American Ninja. I've always loved Michael Dudikoff in
Michael
American
Dudikoff.
Ninja. Yeah, off the top of my head, and I'm sure if we ever get around to ranking canon, that'd change off the top of my head. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with Invasion USA #1 for sure. I'm kind of partial to American Ninja as well. I've got to think about that movie as well. I don't own it, but I do like that movie. And I don't know if you'd call it an action movie or not, but there is action in it. Runaway Train, which is
great.
Is the best canon movie. Period. I mean that as far as quality goes, that's the best canon movie in my opinion. I mean that movie's killer. So
yeah,
great question. And then of course Patrick has to say canon has a top 3. Yeah, of course they do. Yam says, I'm exactly the same with you, Dan, with that Wicked something I totally disagree with, and I will never watch anything like that. Too many tick boxes, and agreed. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Wizard of Oz, to be honest. That's a movie that creeped me out as a kid, and I still don't like it. And I'm not a big musical guy either, so I'm definitely not going to be watching Wicked anytime soon. Let's see here. All right, before we get into more questions here, let me get into some of my stuff here. Okay, we're going to play another little game called Best Decade. Okay, you get to pick between 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. Okay, I'll ask you what you think the best decade is for one particular genre of movie. Okay, and again, some are going to be easier than others, but it's all due to your personal preference. No pressure. Okay, so in your opinion, what is the best decade for horror films, and why?
Oh, 80s.
Okay.
Undoubtedly, 80s. So VHS shop wise is where I discovered horror for myself outside my mum's collection, and then posters, the box art just sold me on everything. And I look at my collection and the horror movies I revisit, they're like from The Shining up until like 89. There's so many from there, like Friday the 13th Part 4. One I've grown really partial to is Halloween Season of the Witch, that now I think's a masterpiece. Evil Dead, the Elm Street movies. Oh, there's so many. The 80s is amazing. A really underrated one in The Prowler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. 80s horror is never going to be top, despite the best slasher coming out the tail end of the 70s with Halloween. No, 80s for me, horror.
Yeah, totally agree. And for many of the reasons that you just mentioned, The Prowler, another one that Tom Savini did the effects for. And
that's amazing.
When Mr. Dan in horror was on here, we were talking about this. And during the 80s, the effects guys were rock stars. Okay. I mean, guys like me could rattle off 5 or 6 of these guys by name, for what they did. Nowadays, with all the CG shit and everything else, I couldn't tell you more than maybe one effects guy. It's just it's a lost art, unfortunately. Although The Substance kind of brought some of that back, and I was really happy with that movie. Did you see The Substance, by the way?
I've got to watch it, so I'm going to wait to buy a physical copy of that. I can't pay to watch it on Amazon, so I'm going to buy a copy.
Yeah, I blind bought that one on Blu-ray because I knew I would get into it. Everybody I know, whose opinions I trust, told me that it was something right up my alley, and yeah, it was. It's really
Oh,
good,
good.
but it's not for the faint of heart. I'll say that.
No,
If
yeah.
you know that the last 20 minutes of that movie is batshit crazy, and we'll leave it at that. So, okay, best decade. This one's going to be a little bit harder for you, I think. Best decade for action.
I thought you were going to say that because that's you can literally go from 84 to about 96 on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go off with what my favourites are, like with uh, Commando, Predator, they're 80s ones. Um, uh, Rambo, First Blood Part 2. I'm going to go 80s. I think it's just got to nick it. But then some Universal Soldier T2 in the 90s, that's such a difficult one. But if I have to leave one behind, I'm going to say 80s just.
Yeah. Yeah. I said this wasn't going to be too easy. How about
No.
comedy?
Ah, see, this is difficult as well. So I grew up in the American Pie era. So
Okay.
they're my sort of, as you say in America, your high school films, our secondary school films. But I think Porky's and Animal House blows American Pie away for comedy, especially the whole gym scene in Porky's with why do they call it Lassie? It's
Mm,
hilarious. Um, I think 80s comedy. Um, I don't think you can get away with some of that now. I mean, anything
no.
from something silly like Police Academy, um, all the way up to something like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. There's so many hilarious things in that. Um, yeah, 80s for sure.
Okay. And yeah, like I said, I thought you might actually go with like the 2000s because I know that's your sweet spot as
Mhm.
far as that goes. But that's or 90s rather. But that's all good, man. And yeah, I'm right there with you. Here comes one though for you. Westerns.
That's
I knew that one would be the tough one.
oh, yeah, that is tough, but I'm going to be biased because the 60s spawned the Dollars trilogy, and right at the end of it, you got Once Upon a Time in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Good, the Bad, and Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West, a 10 out of 10 films. Um, there's so many great ones in the 60s, but then at the beginning of the 70s, probably up to about 75, there's great ones. But I could not imagine living without Leone's Dollars
Yeah.
films or Once Upon a Time in the West. That's going to take it. That's hard as well.
Yep. Very good. Yeah. You more or less answered those the way that I thought you would. So very good. Very good. And I agree with you on every one of those, believe it or not. Like I said, me and you, but we got to start. This is going to get too boring, Dan. We're agreeing too much. We're supposed to have conflict here,
Yeah.
Let's see here. Hollywood does glorify gun violence, Jim. Again, America is a violent country and always has been. I'm not pro-gun. I'm not anti-gun. I'm anti-violence in real life. But a movie, it's a movie. I don't have a problem
Yeah.
with that.
No, the same.
I get choked up watching Monsters Inc.
Oh
Monsters Inc. is
yeah.
Monsters Inc. is a cute movie. I don't know if it affected me the way that Wally did, but it's a cute movie.
Hmm.
Steven says two good revenge movies I enjoyed: Death Sentence starring Kevin Bacon and The Brave One starring Jodie Foster. Yeah, I like both of those movies.
Yeah.
And
Great.
Death Sentence is actually based on the sequel to Death Wish, the novel, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And they just kind of changed the character names and such. But yeah, it's like it's in that universe. I know that. Yam says, can't stand Disney, but I love Toy Story 1, 2, 3. I cry every time I see them. I love Toy Story. But yeah, the Toy Story movies are good. Again, I'm not a huge Pixar fan or Disney fan. I'm a middle-aged man at this point. But by and large, those Pixar movies are very well done. They're if I was a little kid, I'd be eating those things up. So
Yeah, they're very deep. Some of them. I'll
mm,
give them that. They do bring a tear to your eye.
oh, here we go. Mike says the beginning of Up is a tear jerking moment for me. I own that movie. I couldn't get past that first scene. It tore
Yeah.
my heart out, and I was like, nope. And I turned it off, and I haven't watched it.
Hmm.
uh, Runaway Train is a great canon action film. Yeah, I love that movie so much. Uh, totally agree. Runaway Train. Stacy is here. Hello, Stacy. How are you? Hello, and thanks. What is your favorite Jeffrey Lewis performance?
Oh, Jeffrey Lewis. This is got to be the Any Which Way movies. He's one of them actors. I've said it before. When he's in a movie, he just lends to it. It's just always good to see Jeffrey Lewis. But I love him in them movies. I mean, Double Impact, he's great in when he's played a bad guy in a western. He's an actor I love to see.
Yeah,
Always
I
consistent.
love Jeffrey Lewis. I always think of the Clint Eastwood movies, of course. But as far as like favorite performance, the thing that just is stuck in my brain for over 40 years now, he played the caretaker of the cemetery in the original Salem's Lot. And he gets turned into the
Oh,
vampire, and he's sitting there, look at me, teacher.
yeah,
Look at me.
that's
I
horrible.
mean,
That scene.
creepy as hell. And yeah, that's when I think of Jeffrey Lewis, that's what I think of. So thank you, Stacy. I'll give you another question here too, because this one's a good one for Dan. Your favorite character in the original Magnificent Seven? Mine was Horst Buchholz. Or Buchholz.
Really, yeah, it was really good in that. It's got to be Steve McQueen, I think, for me, in that one. I love the whole story behind how it was the kind of battle between him and Yul Brynner. But I think probably what put Steve McQueen on the map, wasn't it? Surely
Yeah,
that film, that performance. Yeah, it's kind of when I'd imagine watching it back then, you'd really think, oh, this guy is going to be something really special. Yeah, I mean, he's one of them like Paul Newman. You can just watch. He's a movie star. He's got everything.
yeah. I love every character in that movie, but I think my favorite character is the Bronson character, who's with those
Yeah,
kids and
yeah,
bitching. They want to be, their father's coward, and he starts spanking them and saying he's the bravest man I know. And then when he dies and they bring flowers to his grave, it's so good.
yeah.
I love Bronson in that movie. Okay, let's see here. The child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang always creeps me out.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in years. Mike says, really? Horst Buchholz? Probably my favorite is Yul Brynner. Yeah, Yul Brenner's awesome. Again, everybody is awesome in that movie. And that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I can watch that movie once a week. I even like I don't like the shitty remake that they did. As much as I love Denzel, I did not like that movie at all. Did you?
Oh,
Did you?
okay.
Did you like it?
I did actually quite enjoy that. Thought it was pretty well done. It could have been horrible. But yeah, I even thought Chris Pratt was quite good. And I still say it to this day, I'm sure he's trying to channel a bit of Clint Eastwood in that film.
Yeah,
Certain little squints he does, little tilts of the hat. I quite like it. It's not the original for sure.
yeah, yeah. It's well cast. Vincent D'Onofrio is really good in that
Yeah.
movie, as I remember. I think it's just because I love that first, that original one so much that I just, maybe I should watch it again. But I remember when I rented it. I didn't see it theatrically, but I rented it when it came out on video back in the day. And I just, for whatever reason, I just didn't connect with it. I thought it was well made, but I just didn't get into it. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out again. Now, funny enough, I love the quote unquote remake of it when it's Battle Beyond the Stars. Have you ever seen that piece of shit from 1980? It's the Magnificent Seven in space.
No, I haven't seen that. No.
That's a Roger Corman production. Okay,
Yeah.
Robert Vaughn plays the same character.
Oh, really? He's the
Yes,
weakest character in it for me as
he's a
well.
coward and this and that and the other. Yep,
Mm.
he's the same exact character. And John Saxon plays the villain part. And I mean, it's just they take the story and they use the 7 different kinds of aliens as opposed to cowboys, and they're trying to blah blah blah.
Oh,
I saw that movie before I saw The Magnificent Seven. You know, it's like maybe that's why I like it. But yeah, chances are you not liking sci-fi, you wouldn't like that movie, bud.
Probably not.
You'd be like, okay, Jim must be on drugs. Why would he like this movie? Carlos says, has to be the 60s for Westerns. Magnificent Seven, Spaghetti Westerns, Wild Bunch, and other. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Funny enough, me and you were talking about this before air. Caracal or Canon? Which do you prefer? I
Yeah,
prefer
yeah. I mean,
Caracal, he says.
yeah, I was saying to Jim before, Yam Yam. I mean, just when them logos pop up, it takes me back to a special place. I get a great feeling. But if you was to break it down, Caracol undoubtedly have done the better
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
hands
no
down.
there's no comparison, you know, as
Yeah,
far as quality goes. I
yeah,
think I have a more nostalgic love for Canon though, believe it or not. Just because they had such a variety of crazy batshit insane movies, you know. I mean, you never knew what you were going to get with a Canon
no.
movie. I mean, it was just glorious crap, you know. But yeah, I love Carol Cole as well. I really do. Okay, I'm going through here. Okay, Barry from the UK is here. All right, lads. Sorry I'm late. I'm hoping you're both well. Thank you for being here, Barry. No worries, buddy. And Stacy, I sub. Hey, there you go, Stacy. Mike just subbed to your channel. Yes, Stacy does have a channel, everyone. And if she gets to a certain amount of subscribers, she's going to do a live stream herself. So if you get a chance, get over there and subscribe to her. And one of my other partner from crime from my live stream is here, Sean, from Movie Assault. Just watched Jeffrey Lewis in Macon County Line last night. Wasn't expecting him. He was good as always, even though he wasn't in it long. That's another movie I haven't seen in years. I don't know if you're familiar with that one or not.
Only by the title. I've never seen that.
Yeah, that's a 70s movie, I believe. People saying hello to each other. All right, Barry, you bastard. I knew it was coming. I teared up when Baby was put in the corner. Yeah, go to hell.
Yeah.
Barry cannot go through a show without giving me shit about Dirty Dancing at least once. That's okay, Barry. I still love you, man. Favorite Magnificent Seven character? Michael Biehn. Okay, so he's being funny there. The Young Gun movies are good. You like the Young Guns movies?
The first one, I love it. Second one, I think where they went in this country, they've gone from, I think it may have been an 18, the first one, and then they went to kind of more like PG friendly. I think
Yes.
that really hurt it a big time.
Yeah, the first one here in the States was rated R, and the second one was PG-13. So you're right about that. Coburn is good too. He wanted that character after seeing the Seven Samurai. Coburn was one of those totally underrated guys, in my opinion. He was fantastic in every movie he was ever in.
Yeah, I agree.
I Barry love both, but it's got to be Arnie. So I guess we're talking about, let's see here. Piece of shit, but it has Sybil Danning in it. Oh, he's talking about Battle Beyond the Stars. I said it's a piece of shit, but I love it. Yeah. Sybil Danning is in that movie. And yeah, her costume barely hangs together. If you thought Princess Leia's outfit was skimpy in Return of the Jedi, you ain't saying nothing, man. And George Papard was in that movie as well.
Wow.
George Papard kind of plays the if I had to compare him to any of the characters from Magnificent Seven, it would probably be the Steve McQueen character. He's the only human in the movie. Everybody else are these alien creatures, but he is a space cowboy, and literally a cowboy for birth. And the funniest scene in that movie is he hands his alien a hot dog, and he's like, "Here, try this." And he takes a bite of it, and he's like, niacin flavor. And he starts rattling off all these chemicals. And he's like, "No, dog." And George Part just looks at him and goes, "Yeah, on Earth we call that meat." Let's see here. Barry's favorite Western is The Outlaw Josie Wells. Yeah, it's in my top 3.
Mm.
And that was the first Clint Eastwood movie I ever saw theatrically.
Okay. All
I think Caracol has the best films in their catalog as a whole. I would agree with that. I'll ask him, Dan, but I don't think he's seen this. Dan, what is your opinion of Jim's favorite sci-fi movie, Damnation Alley? Have you ever seen that?
right. I have Damnation Alley behind me. I bought that on our Signal One. I thought I'd seen it, and I don't know how it happened. I got mixed up with Cherry 2000, so I haven't seen it. I don't know how that's happened. So,
Well, it is definitely not my favorite sci-fi movie. He's being cheeky.
uh,
That was a movie that I
yeah,
saw as a child. It came out the same year as Star Wars. Okay. Same
right.
movie, 20th Century Fox put both movies out. They put a bigger ad campaign behind Damnation Alley because they thought that was going to be the hit.
Wow.
And that movie sucks on so many levels. And when I saw it as a kid, I loved it and bought it years later and watched it. And I haven't watched it since. And Dan, he loves giving me shit about it because that's one of his guilty pleasure movies. But yeah, armor-plated cockroaches. That's all you need to know.
Right.
George
Yeah.
Papard and Jan Michael Vincent versus armor-plated cockroaches. That's all you need to know. Okay, let me get back to we're gonna play another game here. Top 3. Now I already asked you your top 3, or actually Carlos asked your top 3 canon films, so we're gonna have to strike that one from the record. But how about your top 3 Caracol films?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Total Recall. Considering I watched the 30-minute documentary on it before. Um, yeah, Total Recall. You're gonna have to give me a minute on this. Oh, there's so many in there. Red Heat was in it. And I didn't realise that was Caracol. Uh, yeah, Rambo's in there. Is it
First
First
Blood
Blood?
and Rambo 3, I
Yeah,
believe.
the First Blood, Total Recall, and yeah, Universal Soldier. I can't miss that out. It's incredible for me, that one.
You
There you
forgot one
go.
huge one, but it is kind of sci-fi, so maybe not. Terminator 2.
Yeah, of course, Terminator 2. Yeah, you could easily do a top 20 on Caracol, couldn't you? Yeah.
Okay, this one's going to be difficult, I think. Top 3 gangster films.
Oh, right. So, Bronx Tale, Donnie Brasco. So I've got to leave ones out like Goodfella, Casino, haven't I? Possibly. I like authenticity, so a good shout is if you want authenticity is Gotti with Armand. What's his name? Armand
Armand
Asante.
Asante.
That is really really good. But I can't leave Casino out, so Casino's my number 3.
Very good.
I prefer it to Goodfellas.
You prefer it to Goodfellas? Really?
Yeah, I'm in the minority there, but Goodfellas
No,
is great. But
no, it's fine. I love them
Casino,
both. I love them both. I mean, Goodfellas would probably be my number 1, believe it or not, overall. But Casino is like right there. That movie is
mm,
fantastic, and I think it's underrated. I really do.
yeah.
Uh, okay, top 3 war films.
Ah, so war films. Cool. Saving Private Ryan's going to be in it. It's a masterpiece. The opening scene. But for a film that captures the sheer horror of war, goes to a Belarusian film called Come and See.
Yeah.
I'd urge everyone to watch that. Banged on about enough. Criterion label. That is absolutely horrific.
Yes, I agree.
And I've got to put in Platoon. That movie, when I first see it as a kid, made me cry because the scene where the US soldiers go into the village and he smacks the one
Yeah.
with the Butler rifle. I just thought it was so horrific. It's like Casualty of Wars is horrific,
Yeah.
but Platoon is a masterpiece. Even though I prefer the World War II set movies, I think that's possibly the best Vietnam set movie. Platoon.
Very good. Excuse me. 3 favorite comedies.
Um, The Odd Couple, Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau,
Nice.
unbelievable. Friday with Ice Cube. Something about that film, I watch it all the time. And The Jerk with Steve Martin.
Very good.
I don't want to say the famous line he says in that. He was born a poor
Yeah, I was
child.
born a poor black child.
Yeah.
I'll say it. There's nothing wrong with it. Because the best line in
Jerk's
that movie
funny.
is, "You mean I'm gonna stay this color?" Yeah, I love it. I love the
Yeah.
Jerk. Okay, moment of truth. Top 3 westerns.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, without a doubt. Once Upon a Time in the West. And, do you know what? Because of the sheer shock value I had of this at the time, and still when I watch it to this day, I'm thinking, how did this happen? How did they get away with going from that to this? It's the Wild Bunch.
Nice.
It's just
Yeah,
that just pushed the boundaries completely.
yeah. I'm a big fan of that movie. I love The Wild Bunch. I think that was the movie as a kid. For some reason, Warren Oates. You know, he's one of the main leads, but he's not like William Holden or Borgnine in that movie. You know, but something about Warren Oates in that movie. As a small kid, I wanted to watch every movie that guy was in from that point on. You know, I love Warren Oates. But yeah,
He's brilliant.
That movie is so good. It is, and it still holds up. It's still really shocking. I mean, that movie's was damn near 60 years old now. You know, and
he gets straight into it as well. The action. So
yeah, it doesn't mess around. You know.
No.
Yeah, great picks. Okay, let's check out a couple more comments here before I get into my final round of questions, because I got some goofy stuff for you. We got to have some goofy stuff on here. I was kind of inspired by one of our mutual chat friends that comes in here. Sean says, "Oh, come on, Damnation Alley is fun. The cockroaches are great." Yeah, that movie is. It's if you're in the mood for a bad movie, okay. If you go in knowing that it's going to be a cheesy movie and you just want to have a good time, then Damnation Alley is fine. I mean, it really is. But I mean, I had such fond memories of that movie as a child, and then I was expecting to have those memories again, and let's just say I did not. Yam says, The Odd Couple, Jack Lemmon and Trying to Clear Up My Eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that film. What tickles me every time is when he throws a linguine at the wall.
Yeah.
He just tips him over the edge completely.
Yeah. Anytime those two were in a movie together, it was gold. You know, I mean, Matthau and Jack Lemmon, they were so good together. I love the Grumpy Old Men movies. You know, they were so good together. And Yam also says, I love Goodfellas, but in the same, I much prefer Casino. So he's right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
Check out something else here. Okay. All right. Here's a goofy hypothetical question for you. And again, this is just for fun. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The Westerns for Life podcast goes viral. Suddenly you've got millions of viewers for the three of you. You three are now celebrities. And they're talking about making a movie about the Westerns for Life podcast. Who do you cast as Jeff, Carlos, and yourself?
God.
Because I'll tell you who I got my picks for, but I'll wait until you're done.
I can't. I've never met Jeff face to face, but he looks quite big, quite tall. I can't. Do you know what? You've really put me on the spot
there. Okay, we will. I'll just. I kind of came up with this just as a joke, just to see your reaction. Okay, but here's my casting of the Westerns for Life podcast movie. Okay, starring as Jeff, aka 101 Bronson. I've got Pedro Pascal.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
from the Kingsman
movie.
That. The character from the Kingsman movie is what I was thinking about with Jeff. Okay. For our good friend Carlos, aka Eastwood for Life Fan, I've got the wonderful actor Mark Strong. Again,
Oh, nice.
from the
Yeah,
Kingsman movies, Merlin. Okay. And
yeah.
for you, I had to go with Jason Statham.
I knew you was going to say
I
that.
had to
Okay.
because the first time I saw a video of you, I was like, this guy reminds me of somebody, and it was Jason Statham. Believe it or not, and I think it's more. It's not so much the way you look; it's the voice.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
my untrained American ears, your accent is very similar to his in certain when the way you say certain things. So I've always kind of put you in that category with
Yeah.
Jason Statham. Hey, if I was casting myself in a movie, it'd probably be Paul Giamatti. So feel flattered, okay?
Paul Giamatti. Great actor, though, Paul Giamatti. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not as good looking as Jason Statham. So yeah.
One did
No.
pop in my head for Carlos.
Uh-huh.
It might offend him, actually. Stanley Tucci. The Tuki.
That
Yeah,
would work.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Good actor.
I was trying to think of a Brit actor who was kind of big, and I immediately thought of Mark Strong because again, I
Mark
love
Strong's
that
good.
guy, but I can
Yeah.
see, all right. Yeah, like I said, that was just a bit of fun. I was just kind of screwing around with that one. And of course, damn, what a question, Jim. Yeah, I thought you'd like that, Carlos. Okay, Steven says, I did a movie marathon last weekend. I watched Basic Instinct, Fatal Attraction, Sliver, Pacific Heights, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Sleeping with the Enemy, Single White Female, and The Color of Night. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What? That's like, you covered them all, man. I'm trying to think of which ones you might have missed.
No, I can't
That
think
was
of
like the whole
that.
subgenre from that time. Yeah. And you know what? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. I like 3 of those movies. And that's it. I like Basic Instinct. I like Pacific Heights, and I like The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I don't really like. Oh,
Yeah,
and so Single White Female I like as well. I cannot stand
yeah.
Fatal Attraction or Sliver.
Sliver, is that with that Fiennes actor? Is that him?
No, that's
Or is
Sharon Stone and one of the Baldwin boys.
right? No,
The one
I
that
don't know that one.
was in Backdraft. I always get those Baldwin boys confused. Was he Billy? Yeah, Billy Baldwin.
Really?
Yeah, that came out right after Basic Instinct, and the heat on that. Tom Berenger's in that movie too, but they were trying to sell it as like a Fatal Attraction, or I mean, Basic Instinct type movie, and it's really
Right.
not. It's really not. Yeah, Paul Giamatti. Carlos says, I used to get Vin Diesel mentioned. I was thinking about that, Carlos, but I wanted to give you a guy that can actually act. Oh, I'm not a huge Vin Diesel fan. I'm really not. I like the Riddick movies, but I
Yeah.
saw the first Fast and the Furious movie and I haven't watched a single one since. I don't know if you're
But
a fan
yeah,
of those movies
very
or not.
silly. I like the first, the fourth, and the fifth, so they stay a bit true to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Paul Walker. I mean, whenever people mention Paul Walker, they never mention which I think is his best film, which is one called Running Scared, which I
I was
highly
just about
recommend.
to say that Running Scared is awesome.
Yes.
That movie's
That's
really good.
disturbing, that as well.
Yeah,
One of them
yeah,
scenes in there.
yeah. No, that one, because a lot of people get that confused with the Billy Crystal, Gregory
Yeah,
Hines Running Scared, and it's like no,
mm.
they're totally different animals. But yeah, Paul Walker's great. Paul Walker was really good in Joyride. Did you ever see that one?
Oh, that's called Roadkill here. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Joyride.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I really
that's
enjoy Joyride.
Candy Cane, isn't it? He keeps
Yeah,
getting on the receiver. Yeah, it's good.
Candy Cane. Yep, I love it. Oh, here's a good question from Greg. Favorite film scores and composers?
I'll sound like a broken record because it's Ennio Morricone from any of the Dollars films, or yeah, Once Upon a Time in the West. And I do also really like, which completely different. I love the Drive soundtrack, was
Yeah,
Stravinsky, Chromatics, and I really like. I don't know who the artists are for it, but if you've seen a film called Turbo Kid that I absolutely love, it's got a great soundtrack to that. Brilliant,
I've
brilliant
heard of
film.
that movie. I've never seen it, so
It's
I
not
don't
for
know about that.
everyone,
But
but Michael Ironside as a villain is good.
oh, I love Michael Ironside. I'll watch anything with him in it. I'm a big fan of his. Um, yeah, I agree with you. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly to me is the greatest musical score of all time. It's untouchable. Um,
Yeah.
I love the score from Conan the Barbarian.
Oh,
Uh, I love the score from The Magnificent Seven. I love the score from The Great Escape. And an underrated one that nobody ever talks about. When people hear the name Danny Elfman, they automatically think
yeah.
of like Batman or that type of
Batman.
score because he's very repetitive. He does a lot of the same type of thing. But he scored Midnight Run. And the
Oh
music
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Midnight Run is unlike any other score he ever did. And I think it's his best score. I love the music in
Oh,
that movie. So great question, Greg. Thank you. Let's see here. I used to get Greg Kinnear. Yeah, I can see that, Dan.
oh.
Yam says, I was going to say Jason Statham and Mike Strong and all. I can't choose who to play as Jeff. I'm starting to think of an actor with a mustache. Yeah, the only reason why I came up with Pedro Pascal was because of the character that he plays in that Kingsman movie, where he's
They'd work.
the
Yeah.
lasso, guy. For whatever reason, I was like, holy shit, Jeff could play that guy. Barry says, Yul Brenner for Carlos, Seagal for Jeff, and I'm stuck on Dan. Let's see here. Just definitely check a couple other things here. And Jeff says, no, definitely not Seagal. Yeah, I wouldn't want Steven Seagal to be playing me either. He would need to lose quite some weight since I am hitting the gym these days. Yeah, I noticed that, Jeff. You're starting to look pretty buff there, buddy. And he says only for the ponytail. Oh, God, here we go. William Baldwin loved his anal sex in Sliver. Great. No wonder Sharon Stone hated her sex scenes with him in Sliver. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was one of the Baldwin boys, but I thought it was Stephen Baldwin in that movie. I don't know. I again, those Baldwin boys, I get them confused.
Mm.
Alec was definitely the best of the actors of them, but was it Stephen Baldwin? The one that was in Usual Suspects.
Yeah, the blonde, the lighter hair one,
Yeah,
Stephen. Yeah.
yeah, he's good in that movie. I'll give him, whether you like Kevin Spacey or Bryan Singer. I'm a huge Usual Suspects fan, and I think
That's
everybody's
great.
really,
Yeah.
I think everybody's great in that movie. I really do. Greg says the Lethal Weapon score. Yeah, absolutely. That's came in and oh Jesus, Eric Clapton. I lost
Mm.
my train of thought there for a second. Okay, so we are starting to come up on 2 hours. We got about 10 minutes to go here, everybody. And Dan's got a life unlike me, so he's got places to go and people to see. But I want to wrap up a couple other things here really quick. Now, again, obviously you're a big Western guy. Okay, I mean that's part of the gig that you guys do. And again, this is apples and oranges, okay? But do you have a preference of American or European Westerns? Like which one is your go-to, so to speak?
So I like the grittier type westerns, which that's what I grew up on, the clean cut like Western heroes, but now I do like that Clint Eastwood look or the Franco Nero look. So I do go to the grittier ones, and it could be Euro. Jeff and Carlos are far more advanced with me than with the Euro westerns. It's like Jeff can get them quite easily in Germany. Carlos has imported for years. So in terms of them, I'm quite a novice, but I'm loving everything that I'm importing. But I'm going to go with the American westerns, the harder edged ones for sure. As I said, like the Wild Bunch, love the Outlaw Josie Wows, Hang 'em High, High Plains Drifter, that kind of era.
Yeah,
Even though classic ones are great, like High Noon, Man from Laramie, I like the more violent now.
very good. Very, yeah, I know. Those two guys are definitely more steeped in the spaghetti westerns and such than I am. You know, I've barely
Yeah,
scratched the surface. It's like I know the Leone films and very little else. Unfortunately, you know, I grew up on a steady diet of John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. You know,
yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah,
and if I did see some of those westerns back in the day, I didn't realize they were foreign because they would dub them, you know, on cable.
yeah.
And you know, being a kid, I wouldn't know the difference. Now I would, you know,
Mm,
but that's interesting. Because yeah, I know those two are really really, you know, into the Carlos. He pulls out titles out of his head that I've never heard of, you know, and it's like really, and he's just, oh yeah, so and so's in Lee Van Cleef is in this, and Franco Nero's in this, and da, 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 da. And it's just I thought I was a cinephile, you know, and my brain is just going, you know, so
yeah.
it's great, it's great. Um, Yam says, Lethal Weapon or 48 Hours.
No, 40 Hours is great, but Lethal Weapon for me.
Yeah, me too. To me, 48 Hours is more of a comedy, and
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon's more of a action flick with comedy in it. But yeah, I love them both. Barry says can't beat Clint for a western, and he also says, Dan, what is your view on the Western Posse with Mario Van Peebles? Have you seen that?
Yeah, do you know what? It's actually quite good. Um, I would like a Blu-ray of that actually, but actually quite surprising. I worked with a guy, and it's finally I got to work with someone who's a big movie fan like me, and we was always trying to get one up on each other. What one haven't you seen? Go home and watch it, and we bring it in for each other. He brought me in Posse, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Good Western.
yeah. I haven't seen that movie in years, but I remember I really enjoyed it as well. Steven says, I recently seen Seagal on here doing martial arts convention. Man, he has put on some weight and his hair. LOL. Yeah, yeah. I gave up on that guy once he started cozying up to Putin. That's when I was like, okay, I don't need to be wasting any more time on this guy. What film would you say you watch the most multiple times a year? Mine is Scarface. I watch it at least 6 times a year.
Oh, for me, probably, and it's a long one. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know so many people who don't like that, but it's just something special about that film. I completely get. I love the whole route they go down with the Euro westerns when
Yeah,
DiCaprio's character goes out there. Yeah, if you're a movie fan, that's got so many little nods to it, and yeah, it's amazing,
yeah. And the last 20
amazing
minutes of that movie
climax.
is so good. It's
Yeah.
so good. Uh, Mike says, Carlos, we must teach Jim about Euro Westerns. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, there's so much to learn, you know, because that's the thing. Okay. The one advantage that you guys have in Europe over us here in America, not so much now. Okay. But back in the day, you'd be getting all these American movies. Okay. But you would also get all these movies from all these other countries in Europe and such. And here in America, unless it was a breakout hit, we never got any of that shit. You know, I
Mm,
mean, nothing, you know, and since streaming and physical media changed, you know, and the internet, obviously, that's changed quite a bit. But a lot of the European movies from the 60s and 70s and even 80s, I never heard of until I was like much older. And like I said, that's the one thing that I've always been jealous about. You know, you in Europe, you have so much more. Here, it's the Hollywood product, and that's it. I mean,
yeah.
really, that's it. You know, and there's so much missing out. I mean, you mentioned that war movie earlier. Okay, what the name just escaped me now.
Come and see.
Come and see exactly. Okay, that that got some attention here in the states. Okay, but I guarantee it didn't get nearly as much attention here as it did overseas. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
and that would be a type of movie that somebody would have to seek out to find here in
yeah.
the states, as opposed to, hey, there's this new movie playing, or it's available here or there, or just through word of mouth. You know, so I've always been a little bit jealous of you guys over in the UK, or not so much the UK, but Europe in general for that very reason. So
Germany, especially. You go on
yeah,
there and it's
yeah,
amazing what
yeah,
they have on Amazon.
yeah. Germany's definitely got a very big film industry and always has. My grandpa was a big Clint Eastwood fan and a Burt Lancaster fan. Same for me as well. Yeah, both of those guys were great. Um, okay, well, we are coming up on the time, guys. So before we wrap it up, I do want to give Dan a chance here to plug his channel and anything he's got coming up. So, Dan, the floor is yours, sir. By all means.
Okay, well, yeah, as Jim mentioned at the beginning, it used to be called Dan's Movie Cave, but as the content is now collaborative with my good co-host Carlos and Jeff, I changed it to the Talking Movies live stream and the Westerns for Life podcast. Because that's what we do. We talk about movies on the Talking Movies live stream, and we each take turns picking a Western on the podcast. And I have a lot of fun doing it. We're three guys who love movies. We don't claim to be know-it-alls. You know, sometimes in the comments, people know what we don't know, and it's a learning curve. And we do this because the main thing for us is to interact with movie fans and not just show releases. It's all about the movies for us. And I mean, if you want to come along and just chill out with us, listen to what we got to say, fire in your questions. We do pride ourselves on really trying to get to every single person's question, and we just have a lot of fun with it. And I think that's the most important thing. And yeah, I'm loving it. I've got to say, I'm loving YouTube, doing this collaborative content more than I ever have done.
Yeah.
It's it really mostly a great community and a lot of really good people in it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
come along. It's a lot of
Absolutely.
fun, and we always appreciate everyone coming along, everyone who shares the content. We notice we get a lot of loyal people coming back, and yeah, it is pretty special, I've got to say. So that's why I
Awesome.
changed the channel as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and I will totally second that notion to everyone watching. If you haven't already done so, please get over there. You can find Dan at the Talking Movies live stream. And like he just said, he does do the Western for Life podcast and the Talking Movies live stream with Carlos and Jeff, 101 Bronson and Eastwood for Life fan. And like I said at the very beginning of the show, I cannot recommend their content enough. It is the way that these guys put it together. Quite frankly, it's the way it should be done. It really is. So hats off to you guys. Again, like I said, your content is always entertaining. It's always informative. And like you said, the community, I'm part of that community in the chat. And
Yeah.
like you said, just about everybody involved, just like on my community, they're all great people. So please, if you haven't done so, please get over there and subscribe to Dan and Carlos and Jeff. All three of them are incredible guys. Before we wrap this up, I do have a little bit of business I need to take care of. I want to remind everybody that this coming Tuesday, March 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the next episode of Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim. And no, we did not rip off your channel. I swear to God.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim. Our guest will be Corey from Wilkie's Movies and Music, who was here in the chat earlier.
Yeah.
And the topic will be comfort movies. Movies that if you are flicking the channels on your TV and you stumble across a movie, even though you've seen it a million times, you stop and you watch. So that one's going to be a lot of fun. Why don't you give me an example of one of those movies from you, Dan? Is there something like that you do?
Yeah, and I'll get moaned at for doing it as well. Why are you watching this again? Quite a lot. There's a lot of movies like that, but one I'll go to a lot is I know Carlos doesn't like this Martin Lawrence actor, but I absolutely love the movie Life. Eddie Murphy
with Eddie Murphy,
Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, I enjoy that movie quite a bit.
That's a comfort one, and Friday's a comfort one, funny enough as well. I'm a big Ice Cube fan as a music artist, but I've got a lot, but I seem to watch them a hell of a lot.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I love both of those movies, so I'm right there with you. And yeah, I saw both of those theatrically as well. So
Okay.
great pick. But yeah, So again, everyone, that show will be on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And like I said, hopefully you can join us for that. And also 2 weeks from today on the next episode of Shooting the Shit with Jim, excuse me, my special guest will be Texas Hardcore, who was in the chat as well. And me and Texas have done quite a few live chats together now. So we're good friends. And to be honest, I don't know where the hell that episode's going to go, but that one's going to be a lot of fun because when me and Texas get together, you never know what's going to happen. He had a live watch party a couple of weeks ago, or it was actually a random live stream with one of his friends. And just for shits and grins, he decided to do some Spanish translations for people. Okay. Random phrases. And he's just random. And oh my God, some of this stuff had me in tears. I was laughing so hard because it just came out of nowhere. And I'm going to definitely ask him to do a couple of those on the show in a couple of weeks. So hopefully everybody will tune in for that. That one should be a lot of fun. So again, that one will be on Saturday, March 22nd at 1 p.m., the normal time of 1 p.m., right here on Jim's movie channel. The Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim, you can catch live either on Sean's channel at Movie Assault or on the Talking Movies 2024 channel. And so hopefully, again, I hope you guys can join us at that point. Dan, once again, I just want to thank you so much for being here, my friend. This is well overdue, and I would love to have you on again in the future, whether it's by yourself or with your two knucklehead co-hosts, and we can have some fun together. So again, thank you.
Thank you for having me. And I just want to say that you're supposed to have you on January, so I know you should be joining us soon, but not just a live stream, but also a podcast, which all three of us are really excited for as well. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm really, and then unfortunately, the last one kind of fell apart at the last minute. Had some family issues to take care of, but we will definitely reschedule that. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting together with you three. So, but again, this has been a treat. I cannot thank you enough for being here, Dan. And we definitely got to do this again. So thank you so much.
Definitely.
Real quickly, I just want to wrap up with the comments real quickly. Greg, great stream. Thank you so much for being here, Greg. Barry, thank you so much for being here. Texas, thank you. Dan, great episodes. I'll be watching Chado's Land and prepared for the next Westerns episode. Awesome. Yeah, Dan's a big fan of your guys' as well. He's on there quite a bit.
Appreciate it. Yeah, he's noticed a lot.
Dan's a great guy. He's got a great channel as well. Jeff, thank you so much, my friend. Looking forward to getting you on here if we can get your schedule straightened out, because unfortunately Jeff usually works on Saturdays. So, but we're going to work that out and get you on here as well. Sean, thank you so much, buddy. I will talk to you on Tuesday night, and that's going to be a great episode with Kenny. Really looking forward to that one. That one's going to be fun. Fine Stream Jim and Dodgy Dan. Thank you, Carlos, so much for being here. I really appreciate your support as always, my friend. And Greg, nice to meet you, Dan. And again, my words exactly. It's so wonderful to finally meet you, Dan, and have a chat. And like I said, cannot wait to have you guys on here again. So we're going to wrap this up, guys. Until the next time, hope everybody has a great weekend, no matter where you are, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care, everyone.
See you soon.